that would have to be on in that contract with the developer and the city.
I don't even think you have to spend it. Let me preface what I'm saying with that I wasn't involved in the final form of the agreement, so I don't know every word. I don't know what's totally in the August 25/08 agreement, but this is the grand plan and this is the mechanics of how it will work. In your subdivision control ordinance, you have a provision that allows you to require developers to make and enter into development agreements with you before you approve their development plans, their improvement plans, their subdivision plans, or anything. And that has a 1.5 mile extraterritorial effect. And in this agreement, we're required to, and let me digress and say my understanding is, and I'm not an expert when it comes to this, but my understanding is that Illinois Historic Preservation Agency has very few enforcement authorities, yet very limited authority to enforce the regulations. So what they're doing here is enlisting the enforcement authority of the other governmental units that are signatory to this agreement. They're doing that because otherwise they're going to require clearance before you're going to get your access control approval and your design engineering approval and delay the project immensely for years and years. Or they're going, as the mayor said, to have, when you got a developer, negotiate with each individual developer and bring them to a programmatic agreement or clearance before they can develop. So it allows the project to advance with no developer being able to develop out there in our jurisdiction without entering into a development agreement we would require of them. We require them to advance the money to do these cost items and clearances if they're required. It's just an advance the ball procedure. And the first one I know of was Musette Lane and Sauget. They came up with this idea back then when they got the authority for, they got their access approval for Musette Lane. They had so now it's being asked of us. But the mechanics of it is that your subdivision control ordinance is a 1.5 mile jurisdiction outside, and that includes areas outside the corporate limits of the city where some of this area of potential effect includes. Some of it's in the city, some of it isn't. But your subdivision control ordinance does apply. And by that vehicle, you can require development agreements of developers who want to go out there and develop. And that would happen before anything else. So that's the mechanics of it as I understand it. Now, all I was asked to do was check the significance of the references in the agreement to Columbia Crossing Development. That's all I did. I didn't read the agreement. I just scanned the agreement to see where it came up and what the context was. And where it came up and where the context, what the context was pretty much irrelevant to the agreement and the substance of the agreement. And then I called Wayne Skeejan and discussed it with him, and he agreed. But he would like to see on that attachment A the reference to the fact that this boundary description on Exhibit A was part of the Master Development Agreement that, according to this rule, is unenforceable now. But that doesn't change anything either.
Okay, is there any way, let's say we got X, Y, Z developer who came in and he saw this PA, and he would say, well, this doesn't apply to me because you got the Columbia Crossing development in there. That's why I was.
No, I'm just telling you that won't work, because whether you call it XYZ development, you don't even refer to it as a development. It's in the preamble. It's just a reference to a location. But what really defines the location is the exhibit that has meets and bounds, outbounding description of what this agreement applies.
There's two of them, in fact, basic and expanded.
Call it widget. Call it whatever you want. It doesn't change the purpose and the effect and the substance of the agreement.
Tom, on your attachment A, you're talking attachment 1, correct?
Attachment 1, yeah.
And you talked about a description of meets and bounds. There would have to be a legal description attached to that.
Yeah. And that's where Wayne Skeejan would like
So we would need it.
a comment that this, yeah, oh yeah, oh
We'll have
yeah.
all that. And one other question there, and everybody. The document here, page 5 of 13, under B, stage 2, where it starts, where avoidance is not reasonable. The end of this sentence, at the bottom of the page, doesn't match the beginning of the next sentence. So we're missing a sentence or two in this document.
Also questions.
It doesn't, well, there's no sentence
Yeah,
missing.
I didn't catch
So
that.
we need to find that sentence, I think, also. It's gotta be in the original document, I would think.
Ron, I'm sorry. Mr. Clerk. The last meeting notes said that there was great discussion. It was very simple, but I think many of the things Thomas said and the mayor said and some of the questions that were asked need to be reflected in those meeting notes. So 4 years from now, in case none of us are here, the next city council will know the requirements that are necessary to go into that contract with the developer. So I'd like to see some specific things put in the regular meeting